Welcome to the Wellford Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Roberts. I'm the Chief Business Officer and a co-founder at Wellford. In this series, we explore the evolving world of medical cannabis through real patient stories, expert perspectives, and insights from healthcare professionals and growers. The views shared by our guests are their own and may not reflect those of Wellford.
Live. Welcome to another edition of the Wellford Podcast. I'm here with Barry Wicks, and as we normally do, Barry, why don't you take it away and just give us a quick introduction to yourself and your life?
Well, thank you very much, Josh. My name is Barry, and I'm very pleased to say that I am a recipient now of medical cannabis, which is a real milestone for me because of my background. When I left school, I joined the forces as soon as possible and led a very active life in the forces. I was a physical training instructor. I know it doesn't look like that now, but it was in those days. And I was a very active judo player, and all of my life has been surrounded by active things. I left the British Army in order to join the Australian Army. And when I got there, the deal I'd done changed. And so we spent some time in Australia working in the prison service, which was I needed someone to take over my sponsorship. And that was why I chose a government job like that. But then we came back to England. And after floundering for some time, I went into financial services, which I was very, very happy in, and went through one or two companies during my 36-year span, and finished up being poached to probably the best financial services company in the world, Jacob Rothschild's. I spent several years in there, and at the same time, my work there involved meeting a lot of solicitors and lawyers, because I was a business consultant for finance. And one of the partners from a prominent firm of solicitors in Wiltshire recommended me to the Wiltshire magistrate's bench. Complete mystery to me, but they thought I would respond well to an introduction to the magistracy. In all, I spent about 20 years as a magistrate doing several things and dispensing justice on behalf of my peers. And during that time, of course, I had to come across I came across cannabis and other drugs, which the public, some sections of the public were using. And of course, it was my job to dispense justice to them if they were illegally using drugs. So my perception and my image of drugs was very bad, and I could not see any good coming out of drugs at all. And of course, over those 20 years, my body was getting older and I couldn't move in the same way that I did. And it took me a long time to remember or to realize that you have to look after your body because it's the only place you have to live. And I took pills for aches and pains. I have lower back pain. I have hip pain. Many people of my age suffer from exactly the same. And if you go to the pharmacy or the doctor, they'll give you things like ibuprofen and things like this. And I finished up taking pills to manage the pain. I was taking pills to manage the pain, but I had to take other pills because I was taking those pills, which didn't seem right to me at all. So the pills I was taking were actually doing my body some harm. And so I spoke to the doctors and other people. And then a member of my family who had more knowledge of cannabis and its related products than I did started to talk to me about looking into medical cannabis. And the thought was abhorrent. But he convinced me to look at it. And when I did, I found that it opened many, many doors. I started to feel at that time that maybe my golfing career would be over. And I was looking forward to retirement, to beating my friend at golf. And it was becoming more of a chore every time we went out because of the pain that I was feeling. And so we looked into medical cannabis, and I decided that I would speak to my doctor about it. I've been with the same doctor for over 30 years, and I trust him implicitly. And I was lucky that my doctor had an open mind about cannabis and its related products. And so we discussed it at length. I did some research for him, and he looked at it, and he agreed that I could take medical cannabis and it would do me no harm. But my image of the old operation was somewhat frightening initially, because I think my image, the image in my head of people who take drugs, end of story, of that type, were surrounded by hooded people behind the supermarkets, injecting themselves and making a nuisance of themselves in society, and obviously didn't want to be part of that. But then I found out that cannabis can be distributed, particularly medical cannabis, in many different forms, and I take mine mixed with an oil, and I take it only when I think I need it. If I'm going to play golf, then I'll take it because I know I'm going to hurt. So I take my medical cannabis on a biscuit. Unfortunately, I have to pay for the biscuits. I tried to get them on the National Health. They weren't going to have it. So I take mine on a biscuit, and it works within 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, and I'm pain-free. And I can play golf. I have not yet managed to get a hole-in-one, so cannabis does not improve your golf, but it improves your mindset. At least you can have a chance of getting a hole-in-one because you can hit it farther without pain. And it's been an absolute game changer for me for my whole life. So I'm very happy to take cannabis. I think that the cannabis industry has its biggest problem is getting over the ignorance level from people like myself, because when the image that most people of my age have about cannabis is very detrimental, and understanding that you can take it on a biscuit and there's no need for needles and things like this is very different to what that we're indoctrinated to believe. And I think it is indoctrination that we have. We don't have an open mind to cannabis, and we certainly should do, because it has wonderful effects with no side effects. And this is the issue. I don't have to take pills. I have reduced my pain management pills by 100% now. It used to be 50%. I reduced them to 50%, but now I've reduced them altogether because I physically don't need them. I can manage much easier with the cannabis because I only take it when I feel I need it. If I'm going to do some heavy work or if I'm going to play golf, then I will take the cannabis when I know I'm going to hurt. If I don't do anything strenuous, then I don't need to take it. It's as simple as that. But the image is certainly something that we must get over. And that's one of the reasons I'm happy to promote this, because people of my age do need to understand that it is an option and it is a viable option, and which won't do you any harm. In fact, it does you less harm than some of the pills that Big Pharma will introduce you to. Do you want me to carry on any more?
No, I think that is a wonderful introduction. And, you have just an amazing background being in the armed forces, going into financial services, and then being a magistrate. So someone of your ilk is kind of, really exactly who we want to talk to, because the current setup of the medical cannabis market is folks who have already, have understanding of cannabis, have been using it for medical reasons. And there are just millions of folks out there who could really benefit from this medicine, in the things that you say. So you're saying you take an oil. How much of the oil do you take? Do you know how much you take in milligrams of THC? I'm just curious.
I have a syringe which I withdraw 0.5.
Okay.
So I take that while I'm over here. I'm playing golf and I'm doing more strenuous work. So I probably take one. I take five shots a week.
Okay.
But that's all I need.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Such a small amount.
A very small amount. But considering I used to take ibuprofen 600 twice a day, because the maximum dose of ibuprofen is 1,200 per day. So I would take 2 600s per day, and I had to take omeprazole because I took the ibuprofen because it was doing harm to my stomach. And I've cut all of that out now. I don't take any at all.
Yeah. It does make you kind of question everything, right? It's really made me question everything, given the fact that the normal medical profession is telling us one thing, whereas there are these other treatments out there like medical cannabis that no one is telling us about. It's an odd state to be in, because I grew up absolutely trusting the science, trusting everything, and I still do. But yeah, what you spoke a little bit about, folks of your age just having a bit of a bias toward it. And what can we do to change their bias? Do you think there is a fast way and a slow way, or is it just organic?
No, I know. I think there's many things you do wrong. I don't want to be rude, but I have noticed in the.
I'm going to take some notes.
Yeah, I've noticed in my short time dealing with the cannabis industry that you do several things wrong, and it's not helping the image or the ignorance level. Let's take Tim for instance. He's a good example. You decided to commission some clothing for your company, and you've issued him with a hoodie. Big mistake. The
hoodies. I heard you mention hoods in the back of the supermarket. So yeah, maybe that's a bad call.
Yeah. The perception of people like me is hoodies who want to hide their face.
Yeah.
Because they're doing something illegal. So what you're doing is promoting the bad image of the cannabis. I've said before, you are very lucky. In fact, so far, you've got the best staff I've encountered. Saj is a really good lady and knows her stuff and is and her response is immediate. So she's a very good employee, I would say, from
I
my
think so
point
too.
of view.
Yeah.
The people that you deal with, when I recommend someone to the cannabis industry, of course, to you, who they deal with first off is very important, because they've got this image of it's all illegal, and they're going to give me a needle, and that's their image. So the people that they see, if they go to see you or they do an interview with someone from Wellford, they need to be dressed in clinical clothing, not hoodies. I mean, you can't portray everybody in the industry as a doctor. I understand that. But you can if I go to my veterinary, he's dressed in blue clinical gear. And so is all of the staff. So when you go into a vet's, you're in a clinical environment straight away. And that puts you at ease. Because you don't need to see a stethoscope, although I think you'd look really good in one, Josh.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll give that a shot. I will make a note.
But I think you don't need to portray something that isn't right. But if you portray something that's clean and clinical, then that's what that would, a massive sigh of relief would go into the people. It really is important. I was once told, you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Yeah, very true.
And I think that the impression of the hoodie is a bad one.
I really take your point. I think that's a very interesting thing that we could easily change, and we can use similar clothing without the hood, because it's a very good point, because there is that association in the UK and I think in Europe. So point well taken, honestly. And I think Wellford clinics do a good job of the initial first impression, because you'll be speaking to either a medical practitioner or someone like Saj, who is very professional and really understands her stuff. And that's what we want to do. We really built the company from a medical standpoint. It's difficult sometimes to compete with other players in the market who are really going into the recreational space, because, as I said, I mean, most of the patients are more from that space. They have more experience. Folks who are your age or who are, not really familiar with cannabis, it takes a big education piece to get from A to B. Because I'm just like you. I mean, I didn't, well, not exactly. I mean, I understood cannabis from a very young age, and I understood that it was something that could really be helpful. I never thought it would be actually available from a medical perspective.
Me too. I share that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you were behind the bench actually overlooking court cases. I mean, I would love to hear more about some of the cases you saw, and what was your experience there from being on the other side of the fence.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to do that. I'm not sure. I've never ever done a podcast before, so I don't. I did that film thing for Tim when he interviewed me.
Yeah.
But he just asked questions and I answered the questions.
Yeah, it's free flowing. I like to I don't like to have some kind of big productions. Just we have a conversation, we see where it goes. And I'm just interested in you. You have an unbelievable background, and specifically for this point. But being on that side of the fence, I mean, what did you see? I mean, what were some of the things that you saw that were interesting or noteworthy?
Well, the depravity that drugs brings with it. And you get people who come before you, and they come before, when I was on the bench, they came before me for punishment. And you have to, because I'm a Christian, and I'm making judgment on behalf of my peers, who are also some Christians. And you have to think to yourself, well, I'm punishing this person for doing something which is beyond his control. And I was never comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So you're punishing him. It isn't going in here. The reason you're punishing him isn't going in there. It's just going in there, and it's going straight through. You know, he doesn't realize why he's being punished because he can't help it. Well, I'm saying it's she as well. I mean, I've seen some, some really, really bad-looking people. They look like, I've seen better-looking, healthy corpses during my time in the army than some of the drug addicts that I've seen. They look dreadful. I mean, they've got a face looks like a pizza. You know, it's just killing their body, and that's the sort of image that people of my age get when they're thinking about drugs. If you say drugs to someone who's retired, they look at you and the image that comes up in their minds immediately is someone shooting up with a needle. And so when you talk to people about medical cannabis for pain relief, they look amazed. They think, well, how does that work then? The level of ignorance in people of my age to medical cannabis is huge. And I think that people need educating in this, and being introduced to a cannabis provider. They see a drug taker and a drug dealer. That's the way they look at it, the public. And they see someone where you get cannabis from is a drug dealer. And that's the image they've got. They class cannabis the same as heroin. It's drugs in their minds. It's drugs. So when you introduce them to medical cannabis for pain relief so they can play better golf, they look at you amazed because they think, well, you know, that doesn't work out. So the level of ignorance is really vast. And I think you need, or the industry needs to get across to these people. I used to lecture on wildlife rescue to women's institutes. And I would say that women's institutes would be a very good market for the cannabis industry.
Mm-hmm.
Because whether we, the men, like it or not, women rule the world. And if you talk to...
I agree. Yeah. Living with two women, I'm surrounded by women. Yes, they do.
Yeah. So I think that lecturing to women's institutes about cannabis would be a very exciting project, I think.
Absolutely.
Because you've got people like Tim on the one hand. He's so knowledgeable about cannabis and its related products. He talks at a much higher level. He talks at too high a level to get through to the general public, in my opinion.
I do not disagree. I think we do speak very much to the person that's in the cannabis space and understands the products and the terpenes and the details about the plant and stuff that is just not important if you want to get over some pain and you'd like to take an oil.
Yeah, I think, you guys talking to one another, talk to Tim, and you're talking on such a high level that people like me don't need to know that.
Sure. Yeah.
And what we need to do is, will it sort my back out? And will it help me to play golf? I mean, I
Absolutely.
was looking at having to pack up golf, and I know many people that are in the same position, even at the golf club.
Yeah.
And when Tim and I went to the golf club to do a bit of filming, it was amazing. I spoke to the people there because they were all asking what we were doing. So we told them that we were making a film about the cannabis industry, and we told them about it. And there was a lot of interest there. So what I would be very happy to help you in any way that I can, because I think it's a fantastic product.
It is a fantastic product.
Yeah.
I'm actually blown away by it. And I can't make any claims about our product or whatever, but in my personal life, it's really changed things. It's opened my eyes to this is much different from your recreational, your party thing. It's a medicinal plant. I mean, that's what it was. It's always been. And so it's so interesting to hear you say this. And you're taking an oil. And so how does it comes on within like 15 to 20 minutes and you feel the
Yeah.
relief? And does it kind of change your perception? Are you just more relaxed, or how does it feel for you outside of fixing the pain?
Well, this is another thing, you see. This is another area of ignorance of people my age, because they all say, well, when you take it, how long does it take before you get before you get high? I said, I don't bloody get high.
Yeah.
There's no getting high. I mean, I don't go supporting world peace, as soon as I've had my biscuit,
Yeah.
I'm relieved. I go to play golf,
Right.
So I know that I can go out to the golf course, and by the time I get there, my hip's not going to hurt.
Yeah.
And it's just a feeling. There is no feeling. It's unless you count not feeling pain as a feeling.
Yeah.
So
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. I mean, I think looking at the studies in terms of what cannabis does for folks, it's usually a quality of life improvement. So, like as you say, people are able to reduce their pain, play golf, do the things that they really love in their life, get back to life, really. And that's just a very interesting thing because it's so different from what is out there in the news, from what you see in the UK press. And are there some of your friends, some of your peers who you just cannot convince? They're just unconvincible, or are they all kind of open once you talk to them?
I think my friends I think when you talk to people about it and you explain it in layman's terms, they understand it much better. And I think that image, putting together a presentation for you have to be approved to speak to the Women's Institute. The Women's Institute in England is a massive organisation. There's a Women's Institute in every town.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, there's a Women's Institute
Amazing.
in every town in England, and they
Okay.
have areas. So you get an area person who's in charge of the 10 different women's institutes in their area. And when you go to these Women's Institute evenings, you're looking at an audience of between 15 to 20 people every time.
Okay.
And you make a presentation. You have to go to an area meeting, which they call you in, and you make your presentation, and they assess whether it's good enough for you to be on the lecture circuit.
Hmm.
And most people wouldn't have a problem with it, if they're able to speak and they're able to follow a computer generated presentation. There should be no problem.
I mean, that doing those, we call it grassroots efforts. really starting small, seeing people face to face. That's what we have to do to make a difference. And get out there and just look people in the eye and shake their hand and share experiences.
Yeah,
That's really how it is trying to change. And folks like Tim are really good at that because he's such a people person,
yeah,
um,
exactly.
and can talk to anyone. Also, something else that we've spoken about on the Wellford podcast, and it's also important to us, is veterans and helping veterans. And it seems like you do quite a bit of work with veterans and trying to get them out of addiction. Maybe you could speak a bit about that.
Yeah, I think when we've had since the time of Boadicea, we have had people in battle and suffering because of what they did in battle. They call it ADHD and stuff like that.
PTSD. Yeah.
PTSD and ADHD, and we label everything now. And
Yeah.
if you haven't got a label, then you're nobody. You've got to be a label. I'm retired. That's my label.
I don't know what my label is. But anyways, yeah. I gotta think about
Working is your.
that. Yeah. I'm a working man. I'm a family man. Yeah.
So I think they label the veterans with this thing so that they can get. And I think PTSD is well overprescribed. Well overprescribed.
Okay.
And they prescribe it just to get them on the benefits ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the veterans feel as if they've got something because they've got a label, and they don't realize that label has bad connotations as well as good ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think everyone needs to have pills and psychology I mean, when I was a young man, if you got depressed or you've got to kick up the arse. Your father or your friend gave you a kick up the arse. Get on with it. And they don't. That's a no-no now. Of course, you can't shout at people nowadays.
Well, taking a bit of a tangent here, just because I'm interested. Yeah, I mean, my father's generation was definitely of that. You got to kick up the ass and you moved on. But then when it came to my generation, we're a bit in the middle. I'm 46. And then people who are in their 30s are way different, and 20s just way different from me. So, yeah, I mean, what happened? I mean, what happened with society in that way? I think there are a lot of benefits to looking into mental health and the whole thing, but I do agree. I think the pendulum has gone a bit too far, whereas a little bit of kind of tough love is often what's needed in situations. It was what needed from my side. Like I had issues since I was 20 years old, and I saw psychologists and psychiatrists and the whole thing. And it took a woman I talked to 2 years ago, an Israeli woman, to just say, Josh, you got to just stop doing X, and you got to start doing Y, and you got to stop saying this to yourself, and you got to just get on with your life. I mean, it was tough love. And it was really hard for me to hear because I come from a generation where it's just maybe a bit more difficult versus your generation. But I think that's what's needed sometimes. I don't know. Maybe you can speak about that. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think that with psychology and doctors in general and labeling people, social workers, when you label people, they have to have interventions from social workers or hospital medical people, and those medical people, we've invented those medical people over the years, and we've invented more scenarios for them to work with because they don't have enough work. So we've invented work for them, and we've just gone overboard with this invention. And we need to cut it back a bit. People need to get real. And lots of people don't live in the real world. And we now indoctrinate people. The school children are being indoctrinated in schools now. Ireland, we've got a real problem in Ireland now. They're inventing problems. They're not waiting for problems to come along. They're inventing some because they need to have a problem to solve. It's crazy. The world's going crazy.
It is a bit crazy. And I think, like, bottom line, it's diet, exercise, and a positive mental focus. There are some folks who just cannot get into that place, and I do believe that psychology and psychiatry are an important component, but it is amazing how many people could be completely fixed by focusing on diet, exercise, and positive mental attitude, whether it's spirituality. You say you're a Christian. I'm not a Christian, but I definitely have a spiritual outlook, and that's helped me so much in my life. I mean, I think that foundation is huge, and it's kind of going away in society these days, which is unfortunate. I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's the church, for instance, they go on about in the last 6 months or a year, they've gone on to make statements like the church is undergoing a revival, and more people are going to church, but they don't identify which church. And the traditional way of things, they're not plugging into. They're divorcing from my church, the traditional church, and they're going into the more modern churches. Baptism is where the Christian revival is happening, because they don't have bells and smells they have real people. They have real people standing at the front, people like you and I, who become a lay preacher, and they talk about real life, and they treat people as an equal, not as something. They've taken all the magic out of it.
Yeah.
All the smoke and mirrors. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors in religion, because you have to fool the people into picking up the flag and running towards the enemy.
Yeah.
And all that smoke and mirrors is being taken away. And in many ways, that's what should happen to the cannabis industry. Real people should talk to real people about it and say, as you said earlier, it's derived from a plant. Most medicines that they are taking now are derived from plants and trees and things like this. So all have their origins, if you look at it. I mean, penicillin was mold, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was something going off, penicillin. And, it's all natural stuff, really, but we've outlawed it. And you have to ask yourself, is it because we know enough about it, or is it because we can't control it? Well, with medical cannabis, we can disprove that now. We can say we actually know about it, and we can manage it in order for it to help you. The veterans, the problem with veterans is there's too many outlets helping or protracting to help veterans, and they're all fighting one another. And it's a very difficult industry to get into. And I think you need someone with a real knowledge of veterans, who is, the royal family, for instance. Harry, Harry was in the forces, and look where he is now. He's a pariah now. People don't like him at all for what he's done. But he has, in the past, helped a lot of veterans. He's really keen, but he's lost the magic now because people don't believe in him anymore. But when he first started to do the games and things like that, it was a magical thing. You know, you need a prominent person to lead on a thing like this. Do you know any MPs?
Yes, there are some NPs that are interested in it. This fellow named Crispin Blunt.
Yes,
Um, so he
yes.
is a big proponent, and there are others. There are definitely others. You know, through the last 7 years that we've been, building this business, we've seen many, many MPs speak, and folks try to push it forward. But for whatever reason, it doesn't get pushed forward. It's a difficult one to understand why the market is not growing. With millions of people out there that have pain. So there are some forces in the government that just make it more difficult. I mean, for instance, we at Aqualitas, so we own a company called Aqualitas in Nova Scotia, Canada, and they produce flowers and gummies and oils and vaporizers. And so we're not able to get our gummies into the United Kingdom because the MHRA has blocked it. But if you think about for folks with pain that, are a bit older and don't want to vaporize or smoke a product, a gummy is kind of a perfect way of getting this product to people. And we're not actually allowed to get it into the country we're not sure what the reason is, but it seems like there's someone stepping in the way to say, actually, we don't want this to grow. So it's not just the fact that as an industry, we're bad at promoting. It's also the government is stepping in to say, actually, this doesn't feel right. We need to slow this down. Is that what you're hearing?
Yes, but that's because they're ignorant.
Yeah.
They're ignorant of the benefits of it, and they're too closed-minded to look into it and do some research for themselves and talk to people who are actually taking it, like me,
Yeah. Well, the government currently is a labor government, ostensibly, right? So that seems like the perfect group to be looking into this. In the US, they would have looked into it long ago. I don't know what your thoughts are about Trump. We definitely don't need to go into it, but Trump just signed an executive order for psychedelic research, and he signed an executive order for cannabis research a few months ago. So the US is really pushing ahead with it, and we're now looking to the UK to say, from a higher point in the government, to say, this really is worthy of looking into in a deeper way, because they've opened up the market, but they just, as you say, because they're not educated on it, they haven't really opened it up to allow GPs to prescribe. It has to be a consultant. And so it's just more difficult to actually get the product out there.
I think there are more GPs nowadays. There are more GPs pro medical cannabis than there used to be.
Yeah.
By a lot. And I'm very thankful for that. My GP, for instance, got a very open mind about it, and has and is always asking questions of me about it, because it's really an interesting thing that they're not given any research or any information from the BMA. They're not given any because the BMA won't promote it. So,
right. I mean, the main thing
think
we always talk about on here is those doctors need clinical trials. They're always looking to clinical trials for this. And there's loads of observational data. And I'm not a doctor and I'm not a medical professional, so I really can't opine on, what drives them. But it seems like the General Medical Council looks down upon doctors who are prescribing medical cannabis, and that hurts their relationship with their peers and just affects their livelihood. So I understand why they're reticent to do it. It's still, you have to have doctors who kind of say, I don't care. I really see the benefit of this, and I'm going to make a decision to prescribe.
I think when you're talking to a professional, like a doctor, and you're asking him to chance his profession, and then you've got an uphill battle. I think the easier way to do it is to go straight to the patient and have the patient lobbying the doctor, and have the patient saying to the doctor, I don't want any more of these pills because I'm now taking medical cannabis. And it's doing just the same job. In fact, it's doing a better job because it lasts for a longer period of time. So when I take the ibuprofen 600, it lasts for 4 or 5 hours, but the cannabis lasts for 7 or 8 hours. Mm-hmm. So I get better coverage from the cannabis oil than I do from the ibuprofen. And it's that sort of conversation that we need to get the older people to talk to their doctors about.
Yeah. And I like it.
Yeah, the only way to do it is to get them to, get them educated really into what the options are for them. I mean, have you ever seen a PowerPoint presentation of medical cannabis?
Yeah.
I've never seen one. I'd like to see one.
Yeah, I think, as you say, in the industry, we are making the mistake of going into the weeds, pun intended there. We go way too detailed into the plant and what differentiates it from XYZ competitor versus these things that you're saying, which could fill a PowerPoint about, this is a quality of life medicine. We understand that there is bias that's built up over, since the 60s and 70s with Richard Nixon, because it was really that administration that changed everything based on bogus views of the Americans. Honestly, I'm American, so, but I mean, it's horrible looking back on why these medicines were put into Schedule 1. But that retraining needs to be done. So a whole PowerPoint could just be done on that, ending up with quality of life and ability to play golf. And, we can't make claims, but you're saying it. So. But
I can make the claim.
Yes.
Because I've done it. So when you're playing golf, your legs stay more or less straight to the front, but you're needing to twist your body and bring the power down into that stroke. And so you're transversing your body from right extreme to the left extreme. So you think, because this is going to hurt. And yes, it is. If you don't take the cannabis, it's going to hurt. So you don't hit it so hard, or you take half a swing rather than a full swing, and your golf suffers, and you don't have a good day out. Every golfer, when they go for 9 holes or 18 holes, there's always the one stroke that you live on until the next time you go to play golf. You always get a good stroke, and that's fine. But you need to realize that you got that good stroke because you hit the ball correctly, and you hit the ball correctly because you were able to hit the ball correctly because you're not in pain, and it's that's the point that needs to get over. Gardening. Most old people like me do gardening. Bending over, backache, knee ache, things like this. This is the sort of thing that needs to go onto the PowerPoint presentation, where you can say, are you faced with giving up gardening? Because most people, if they have a hobby like gardening or golf, they dread not being able to do it because the alternative is just waiting for God. And that's not good.
That's not where you want to be.
No.
And then also, what kind of effect do you think it has on, you with your family, you with your loved ones? Is it a snowball effect where having a bit more quality of life, being able to play golf allows you to be better around your loved ones? And just, I find that for myself with other things, it's a snowball effect for me, that it just like one thing is better and then everything is better, and I'm getting along with my partner and being nice to my daughter, and so it's
You're absolutely right. It is. I mean, I'm now in Spain. I walk every day. I've just come back for a walk this morning. We walk every day. I've been on a bike ride. 2 days ago I went on and I'm in a. There's another thing that I'd like you to look up, if you will. There's an organisation called U3A. It's the letter
Okay.
U,
Mm-hmm.
the bigger 3, the letter
Yeah.
A.
Okay.
It's a really badly named organisation. It stands for University of the Third Age.
Gosh.
It has nothing to do with universities, and it has nothing to do with the third age. So, we're waiting for them to change the name.
Okay.
Now, this organisation is much bigger than the Women's Institute,
Okay.
and it's an organisation of people like me who are early retired or retired or company directors.
Okay.
Who want to look into what they're going to do in retirement. Now, U3A, there is a U3A in every single town in the UK.
Wow.
Every single town. And in the cities, obviously, the group is bigger. And what it is that people from all sorts of backgrounds join U3A. You join U3A, it costs between £10 and £15 a year to join. And then you then can join any of the clubs within that U3A. Now, what it is, you might have a lady who's been a florist all of her life, and she's had a florist shop, and she joins U3A, and everybody said, "Oh, as a florist, you'll know how to arrange flowers then, won't you?" I'd love to do that. So the florist will set up a group, and she'll teach people to do flower arranging. In U3A, there's a golf group. I'm in the golf group.
Okay.
There's groups for everything. But every month, they have a meeting of all of the groups where they have usually a lecturer telling them about something interesting. This is where we can plug into those things too, because
Absolutely.
that's your age demographic that you're looking at.
It is.
So, and that's men and women.
That's a great call.
Yeah.
I think we should speak offline on that for sure.
Yeah.
I guess we can close on just any advice you would give someone of your age or younger, anyone who wants to get into the medical cannabis market. Any other tips or thoughts that you could give from your experience?
Well, do the research. Simple as that. Don't take other people's word for anything. Do it yourself, because it opened up my mind no end. So to look into it, and me with my doctor's help as well, it was really easy much easier than I thought to obtain, providing you jump through the hoops. And one of the things that I did like about it was that you had to have an interview with a doctor before you even get anywhere near anything. So it's very well controlled. And I think the cannabis industry, when people, it's not a case of me giving you a £5 and getting a bag of something, because that's the impression that people have got. To actually get on a course of medical cannabis, you've got to prove that you actually need it. It's not a case of, oh, I've got the money, so therefore I can have it. That's not the case at all. You have to prove that you are a candidate for it. You have to prove that it will do you some good, and there's not any alternative medicines that you can have. So that's the education bit, and I think that people realizing that it's so well controlled. In fact, I would say that your industry is heavily controlled in the UK. So
It is.
people don't realize how heavily controlled it is. And I think that they would have much more confidence in it once they realize that it's not a case of just asking for it. You have to prove the case. It's all medical, emphasis on the word medical. It's only what's thought to be doing you some good.
Great. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Barry, for joining. That was a great conversation.
You're welcome. Anytime I can help you, I'd be only too happy to do so.
Absolutely. Let's talk offline. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening. And stay tuned for the next podcast with the Wellford Podcast. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Wellford Podcast. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen.